Hey guys, Mike here with Spec13 Motorsports, home of the Hayabusa swap for NA, NB, Miata, and Exocet. I get a lot of messages about the kit, but the vast majority of them go something along the lines of, how does this all go together? So I decided that GoPro battery willing, I would attempt to do a high-level installation video with my body cam all in one shot. So bear with me for a second here, and I'm gonna You don't see? Yeah, you can't answer me. Anyway, so here we have the majority of the kit components, the base kit components, with the exception of the panel shifters and the electronic shifting solenoid. But so here is the clutch slave cylinder mount, the oil pass-through, the sprocket to drive shaft adapter, which we actually won't be installing in this video because the motor that I'm going to be using already has one installed, and because they are such a tight fit, you can only install and uninstall them up to 4 times before there's too much slack. They come with their own separate installation instructions. That's something that probably warrants its own video. Then we also have the shifter solenoid mounting brackets, headers. This is the concept of the final design, but your headers will look a good bit different from these. These also don't fit the same way that your headers will, so just ignore the jankness of these headers for the time being. I'm waiting on forms so that we can actually make all of these headers in-house and make them accurately and repeatedly. There will be a 2-piece drive shaft included, upper and lower radiator hoses, and of course the engine mounts. So first I'm going to bench assemble a couple of things here. Start with the solenoid. So you'll have 3 different washers. Well, this one's not really a washer, it's a nut. But this thin little spacer here is actually very important, so don't lose that. The orientation of it does not matter, but we'll insert this guy into the side. Little washer. Hang on. Getting ahead of myself here. Grab. Well, you know what? Bet it's gonna be. Oops, that was probably important actually. That's why I shouldn't have done this on the welding table. This gonna be a loss, okay. And we're going to thread this together. Don't worry about hitting a specific torque, just get it tight. Make sure that it doesn't bind. It should be able to swivel freely. Just put this in here so I don't lose it. Oops, don't make it too tight because we'll be sliding the solenoid through there. when this is actually on the car. So, okay, let's grab our impact. 8mm socket. So this is our donor. It's a Gen 2. The wiring is a little messy, which is why we decided that rather than going to how we kind of DIY extended a couple aspects of the harness, and what we kept and what we deleted from the factory Busa harness, we're just going to offer a couple of different harness options, I believe, to greatly simplify things. So, okay, this bolts onto the back cover. Just reuse the 3 factory bolts that hold the rear cover on. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Don't go crazy tightening these yet, just snug it so it's not flopping all over the place, I guess. That might have even been a little too much, but... Then there is a bolt and compression tube. There it is. It's a 5mm socket, cap screw. Okay, so this is something I'm glossing over actually because I already took the liberty of removing the case bolt right here. It'll be pretty obvious when you get into it because it's the only one that this will line up with. So put your compression sleeve in between the bracket and the case. Oops. Thread your bolts in. Sorry, I feel like I'm probably blocking most of this. Okay, once you get that threaded in, you can tighten these guys up. Oops. Oops. Let's see. Okay, I'll get some torque on that with a ratchet. The solenoid we will assemble on the car. You know what? Might as well wheel this over there. Could have done this on an engine stand, I guess, but this way it'll make it a little bit easier when it comes time to put the engine mounts on. Which way's right? Am I loosening it? Yeah, it definitely was. In retrospect, it might have been a little bit simpler to put things, throw the engine on a stand, but next time. You guys can learn from my mistakes. Anyway, okay, get that pretty tight. Okay, here is the output shaft conversion flange as I showed you. That has its own separate set of instructions. Like I said, we'll go over that in a separate video, but as you can see, very, very close to where the clutch slave cylinder push rod goes and where the actual cylinder mounts, and also very close to the gear selector output shaft. So packaging is pretty tight on this kit. That was a huge challenge. Well, not really too particular which order we do things in, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab the low-hanging fruit here, put this oil bypass line on. Again, mine has been removed, so yours will have a rubberized line that goes from this hole to this hole, but it gets in the way of our headers. So, doesn't really matter, but this line's already been installed, so I might as well do it the way it was the last time. Leave those 12s, put this in low torque mode. Oh, another thing I'm glossing over because I didn't feel like removing it from this motor are these oil cooler block-off plates. These are included with the base kit if you're doing a force induction big turbo kit, or you're doing you know, a really big stroker or something. You might want to think about retaining your oil cooler, but in stock form we haven't found it to be necessary. In fact, I did have the oil cooler set up on one of the other builds and we just ended up blocking it off with cardboard. The oil temp never really got up to where we would like to see it, so these block-off plates are included. That's fairly self-explanatory. There's O-rings that come with them. They just not pretty much, but they just bolt on to the factory outlet and inlet for the oil cooler. All right, what next? Maybe we do something kind of fun. We do the headers. Again, your headers will look different. But while we wait for forms, these will be the ones that we'll have on this build for the time being, and we'll be displaying at Miatacon at the end of October. You guys can catch us there. It's at Lime Rock. Should be a good time. This is the second year, as far as I understand. Okay. So some of these require hex heads, but the vast majority of them are Allen bolts. So let me get those sorted out. Okay. Those trumpets just get inserted into the head. Make sure you have decent gaskets in there. They're really cheap. You can get them from Schnitz Racing. If not, might be worth picking up some spares, actually. I don't know. I've never had one blown out, but they're cheap enough. Do a lot of track days, maybe just throw it in the box. Okay. Oh, that's not supposed to be there. So this one requires a hex head. Right, that's definitely not going to be the right length. I don't know where that bolt came from either. As do these bottom two. This one. Oops. It is possible, I think, to install the headers while the engine is in the car, but it's definitely far easier to do it when the engine sitting on the ground or just out of the car. Oh, come on. This one's being a pain. Okay, it's going. Oh, where's my impact? Oh, there it is. I believe these are 6s. Just start snugging them up. Oh, need an extension. I don't know where the short one is, but there's this enormous one. Those ones are 12s. Oh, 13. Where's the 12? Must be out of order. Whoops. Okay. Let's get these guys on there. I think we're basically done. Oh no, we have to do the clutch cylinder. Almost there. These ones are a little tough. It's not gonna fit. Okay. Let's snug them up a little bit more. Oh wow, yeah, I'll tell you right actually. I don't remember the torque spec of these off the top of my head, but it wasn't tremendously high, actually. So don't go crazy on them. All right. Next, let's do the lower radiator hose. That's a pretty easy one. This guy, that's the upper radiator hose. This is one of the things that might be easier with the engine on an engine stand, or if you're brave enough, go under it when it's on the hoist. So this is the outlet for the coolant, and we're going to try to thread this hose under the engine. There's a little gap in the engine mount in the transmission side of the engine. I'll slide the hose on. There we go. I believe that's an 8mm. There's the small extension. Okay, next let's work on the engine mounts. The longer one here is the front engine mount. You can start with that. Okay. These two bolts right up to the engine mounts on the head. So just get these guys threaded in. Again, don't go crazy with the torque just yet. I think they're 8 millimeters. That's a 10. That means that's an 8. Just again, so it's not flopping around on us. Okay. Your engine mounts will have the spacer here welded in already, so you won't have to worry about what I'm doing here. But thread this bolt through the mount on the transmission side. Leave that there for the rear. Let's go grab the rear one. The rear will actually have hex bolts for the mounts. It makes it a lot easier to access them when the engine mounts are in the car. When the engine's in the car. So, I guess that needs to get pushed up a little bit. Hold on. Put these away so I stop looking for stuff. That's vaguely where it goes. Forgot what we were doing. Okay. Gonna clack this hose a little differently so I can get the engine mount in. Might as well leave it loose until we get this lined up just right. Okay, so we get the back part of the engine mount on the bolt there from the front one. And then start threading these into the head. Oops. That's not up. Or you can do it however you want, I guess. Oops. Oh, pardon me. Body cam just fell apart. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Okay. There it is. And just snug this up a little bit more. Oh, the lower bolt. There it is. This one I find is easier if you thread it in from the back with the nut on the front. So opposite the one that we just installed. So tip the engine up a little bit. Hopefully you can see these holes under here. Sec. Get everything lined up right. There we go. Okay. Then these guys got nuts and washers. Other way around, washers and nuts. And those are 19s. You get torqued down to a good bit. Slowly eating away at the parts. Oh, what a mess. Yeah, we definitely needed a harness option. Probably won't be needing this for a little bit. Alright, well now. Finish torquing these guys down. This guy's dead too. All the batteries are dying at the same time over here. Hang on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is the clutch solenoid. So unfortunately the packaging is so tight with the clutch solenoid that the solenoid needs to be bench bled before it's actually installed in the car, believe it or not. So I've already taken the liberty of doing that because I'm sure you guys have all bled something hydraulic before. So here is the clutch solenoid. The way it's situated in the car is that the bleeder is pointing straight down, so you will not be able to bleed that in the car. So what I like to do is I take clamps, one of these guys, and a little piece of tube or some washers or something. Probably should have planned ahead of time. Oh, right. Nope, nope. Okay. Yep. Nope. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Look in the trusty junk drawer of the toolbox. Oh, several things that'll work in here. Okay, perfect. Take this guy. Put it in the solenoid. Piston. And then clamp this guy down. And then when you bleed it, make sure that you're bleeding it with the bleeder valve upright. You can even do this sitting in the car. You could hook a little hose up to it and watch it, and make sure that all the air's out of it. That's kind of what I like to do actually. Yeah, so that will need to get bench bled. It's not too difficult to remove from the car, but you will have to remove the whole bracket and everything with it. As you'll see, the bolts are inaccessible, virtually inaccessible once it's mounted on the car. So let's see, is this right? I always get this messed up. I think so. Now we're going to mount the solenoid to the bracket. You screw in from the back. And it goes solenoid, aluminum bracket, bent bracket. In this case, you'll get different hardware with it too, I'm sure. This one, put the bolt in it just to make sure that it doesn't get misaligned. You won't be able to thread the bolt in. Okay, I'm going to take the bolt out, and we'll just leave this to the side for now. Alright, let's think here. I think it might be ready to go in. Yep, this gets installed when it's in there, and this guy gets installed when it's in there. This gets installed when it's in there too. Okay, we're set. One of the other fun things about the engine only weighing 194 pounds is that you get to do sketchy things like lift it with ratchet straps. Which is what we're about to do. Oops. So, again, the wiring is, well, it's up to you, but the DIY option can get a little bit unwieldy, I think, for some people. You just have to lengthen stuff, and it's not that it's difficult, it's that it ends up looking not the cleanest. That's kind of my only, issue with it. Also, I've done this build 3 different times, twice in this car, once in the Exo set, and I've done the wiring 3 different ways, so the harness option definitely makes things a little bit easier. Okay. Let's get this up a little bit. That's a pretty good equilibrium point, putting a chain or a ratchet strap, whichever you prefer, on these bends here on the front and rear engine mounts. I'm gonna watch your intake. All right. Probably need this. Sure, it goes there. This is the lower rad hose that we installed. Okay, wow, it just sinks so fast. Okay. Oh, actually, before I do this, I'm glossing over something semi-important. So the engine bolts in, the mounts bolt in to these 4 brackets here on the tub. These holes, well, 3 of these holes, this one, and this one, are already existing, and you'll just have to hog them out with a 1/2-inch drill bit. Let's see if I can find those holes on this car, actually. Yep, not sure if you guys can see them, but here's one hole on the driver's side that'll need to be hogged out. Where is it on this side? It's hard to see, it's under all this wiring, but then this hole in the back that needs to be hogged out is, there's a rubber grommet that I'm not sure you can see in the back here, but that hole needs to be hogged out, drilled all the way through with a 1/2-inch. Let's see. So once that's done, once you get those all drilled out, what I do is I bolt these 3 in loosely, and then I install the engine with this 4th one, and you'll know that this is the correct one because it actually has a flattened portion to it so that it will clear the mount on the head. So you install the engine with these 4 holes drilled out, and then you actually use this as a template and mark where this 4th guy goes. And then you can drill that hole because there is no pre-existing hole for that 4th one, unfortunately. It's just the way the packaging worked out. All right, let's throw this guy in there. Oh, I lost all my height while I was talking. Almost there, height-wise. Also, another thing I should mention, it's a good idea to install the oil filter ahead of time too. A lot of the aftermarket oil filters don't fit very well. The Wix and K&N one fits very well. There's not a lot of clearance between the engine and the steering rack, or steering column, as you'll notice, I'm sure. No modifications need to be done to the tub other than those 4 holes drilled. Nothing needs to be cut on the subframe. This subframe, you might notice, is cut, but that's because these headers are the prototype headers, and the real ones, once we get the forms, do not need to be clearanced. Okay. You'll notice we don't need to remove the radiator. Oops. Oops, scratch this stuff up a little bit here. Okay, once we get the header outlet back, then we can start pushing this guy in a little bit. Oh, whoops. Jeepers. Let's make sure it's not caught up over here. No. I don't even need to lower it, it's lowering itself. go up a little bit more. Fuel pressure regulator was getting in the way. So this is an NA donor, obviously, NA6 car, and a Gen 2 Hayabusa. This did not require the fuel pressure regulator. I didn't discover that until later. Oh, whoops. Okay. So I also forgot it kind of pays to have the engine more level at this stage. That will help with the oil pan clearing the subframe. This back one is always the most challenging. But, oh, there we go. Got it. Okay. Get those bolts in. Oh, there's the washer. Sorry, guys. Real one. Okay, got this guy. There we go. Itself down. Okay. Now we're cooking. This one's kind of hard to get the nut on, but I'll actually. Okay, So the engine is largely in. Gonna remove the engine hoists. You can start hooking up the coolant lines and different electrical stuff, which you guys can gloss over because that warrants a separate video at the very least. Alright, let me do upper coolant hose. That's this guy. Oh, there it is. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but it's not really particularly important. I'll show you in a sec. Okay, so I'll grab the longer screwdriver. What do I do with my 8mm socket? Oh well. Train's going by. Shop gets tons of train traffic. We're right by a really busy shipping yard. So the trains are always coming in and changing cars, and all hours of the night. They're always making shockingly loud banging sounds when they come to a stop, or they're changing cars over. It's really unsettling at first, and then you get completely used to it. I hardly hear it anymore. Okay, so we got the upper radiator hose on. Not sure if you can see, I've got the lower radiator hose here that we installed the section on the engine earlier, and there's a section that goes on the radiator. It's best, I find, if you separate them and install one on the radiator and the other side on the engine. Take off this. Hopefully there are no leaks. This was already pretty much full. Okay, we did the radiator hoses, we did that stuff. Alright, let's hook up the exhaust and the drive shaft next. Oh, and the slave cylinder. So that will get snaked around onto this side of the car. And it's actually going down there. Doesn't look like there's a lot of room, but there's enough. Okay, going down here. Okay, I'll leave that like that for a sec. I'm going to hook up these fuel lines. It's another tiny screwdriver for some reason. Bear with me. Get out this little mess. Okay, now I'm just connecting the fuel line to the rail, but there's this old line on there. I forgot that I need to try to get off. Just trying to push it off a little bit. That's really stubborn. Got it. Okay. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just sliding the fuel line from my fuel pressure regulator onto the inlet for the fuel rail. And I'm taking this up. Now I clearly have an advantage with the lift, but the installation process is the same. Oh, whoops, almost forgot the hardware that we're going to need. So at this time you're going to need the push rod, the 2 compression tubes, and 2 bolts. So here you can see the, hopefully you can see it, is the solenoid, the clutch solenoid. So what I like to do first is, while it's all loose like this, I take the push rod and insert it into the engine with the rounded side. Which side's the round side? The rounded side into the engine. Push that down as far as I can get it. And then slide the cylinder over it. Not sure if you guys can see that there, but then the short bolt and short push rod or compression tube go on the bottom. Just loosely start threading that in. Hold your spot. Sorry again, not sure if you guys can see this, but this top one is tricky too. Oops. Pressure too. Bear with me. Working blind here. Lift isn't much of an advantage at the moment. Dropped it directly on my face. Hold on, I got a better vantage point now, though. Got it. Okay. I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So now I've got, took me a sec, but I've got the sleeve cylinder mounted up. Not sure how much of that you guys can see, but now I'm going to be installing the drive shaft. So it's a two-piece drive shaft with a carrier bearing. Yours will be a little bit different than this, a lot more clearance in the front. So I've already got the rear section installed on the diff here. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's a mark on both drive shafts for how they need to be aligned. I'm not sure if you can see this white paint mark that'll come on yours. And let's see. I think it was a, yeah, white mark right there. I'll just slide the rear section into the slip yoke. this is generally easier to install all at once, actually. So maybe I should have done that instead of trying to skip a step. The seal is the hardest part to get it over. There we go. Okay. So, let me hang the carrier bearing first. So what you'll need to do is install the drive shaft and have some way of supporting a jack or something of that nature to mock up the holes for the carrier bearing. And then you'll need to drill these 2 holes in the tub for the carrier bearing. I do. Okay, so some of these bolts for the drive shaft flange are easier to attach from the top. Some of them are easier from the bottom. You kind of just got to suss it out. So I've started to thread in a couple of the bolts for the drive shaft. Those need to be torqued to spec. So I will continue that later off camera. I'm just going to screw my wideband in a little bit. Screw my wideband in. Okay, I'll leave it open header for now. Run a little bit behind where I thought I'd be. So now we're going to take our shifter solenoid. If your kit is optioned thusly. The shifter arm will be bolted to the stock location. So it'll end up looking something like this. There is a notch on this push rod that's the middle. You want to tighten it so that when the gear selector is in a neutral position, that the solenoid is at the middle of the push rod. So let's get some Allen keys to tighten that up. It's roughly in the right spot. If you find that you're having a hard time shifting, in one direction especially, you can reposition where this solenoid, the length of this push rod in either direction. Okay, run our wire up. There somewhere. Like that. Okay, so this is what you're roughly left with, though your exhaust may vary. Oops. See out there. Okay, now I'm just going to do a little bit of the wiring. I'm going to kind of gloss over that. But the main couple of things, if you do decide to DIY this, is that the fuel pump harness will need to be spliced into the Hayabusa harness, or you'll need some sort of just a switch. You know, lights would have to be completely custom. For instance, this is a track only car, so it only has brake lights. I'm not concerned with any other, you know, hazard lights or blinkers or headlights or anything like that, so that simplifies things a lot. Okay, we got this nice and low. I'm gonna start to try to sort out the mess that we got going on here. So here's the rectifier. This is to the O2 sensor, which you probably won't need if you're like me. Okay, these are my fuel pump wires. What's this wire? No focus. Alright. Oh, it's this. It's like... Okay. Oh, seriously, I left myself wiring to do while I'm filming. Alright, hang on. Sorry, guys. This is the fuel pump harness that I'm wiring in. Use a little butt connector for now. No butt connector. Yeah, use one of these solder boys. Okay, I got my fuel pump harness soldered in, or wired up. What's one else? Okay, this is all the stuff for the dash. fan. That. Now we hook up the dash. Yeah, I'll put the car down. I'm gonna start plugging stuff in. Sorry, this is off camera. But again, I'll do some more specific install instruction videos, or actually, whatever you guys have questions on is probably what I'll try to focus on. So that was just hooking up the starter switch, the kill switch, a couple other things. And this is the dash. Okay, obviously no bezel on it, but that's the dash. I think I'm ready to start plugging stuff in and see what happens. Just plug it in the negative terminal on the battery. And positive. Okay, so this is haphazard, obviously, but just gonna see if I can actually get it started for you guys. works. Alright. Looks like everything's working. C21. Oh, air fill. That's the intake air temp sensor. We forgot the air box. Where's the plug though? There's the plug. Let's plug that guy in. Don't even need it at the moment. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if it starts. Forgot to hook something up. Oh. Whoops. I had a stopper on the fuel line. Oh, come on. Sorry about that. This way I didn't have fuel dripping all over the shop while I was in here trying to work. Try that again. That's it, guys. Pretty simple. That's all there is to it. I will, as I said, make more detailed videos. If you guys have more detailed questions, you know, let me know. This is a very high level video, basically just to show you the concept, but stay tuned for more content coming out soon, more updates.